He's got no clue what's happening next. The blind wizard stumbles through each quest. Magic's wild, memories hazy, but trust the vibe even if it's crazy. He's got a friend, she's small but wise. The prediction princess, the theories will arise. No spoilers, just fate. Let the story unfold. Blind reactions with a heart of gold.
Hello YouTube, it's the Blind Wizard here, and of course, it's par for the course at this point. Dun 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 dun. I just got a node. I just got a node. I just got a node. What does the boss want now? Dun 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 dun. Hello, Blind Wizard. It's about time you return to this series, Demon Lord 2099, and get to those next episodes. So, your next assignment is to do Demon Lord 2099, the next 2 episodes. Bring that one back, please. It's been gone for too long. Keep doing what you've been doing. You're doing great. And keep up the good work. Signed, the boss, Joseph Crickmore. You got it, boss. That's right, people. We're on the next 2 episodes of Demon Lord 2099. That's this single video. Meaning, this video will have 2 episodes in it. That is not a rarity for me. I'm more often to just do multi-episode videos. Saves me from doing more work than I have to, and it's a very good thing. Last time we left off, VELTOL was making a resume of sorts and trying to find a job and not succeeding. I remember that was very funny. And then I forgot her name, VELTOL'S subordinate. She was friends with the girl VELTOL met before, and they met, like they all met up. And by the end of the episode, she has this. She gave VELTOL an idea to help him potentially regain his power, and I'm very curious to see this one play out. VELTOL becoming a YouTuber, becoming a streamer. That's gonna be fun, because it's literally what's happening right now on these videos. So that's gonna be fun. And we're covering 2 episodes. So the post-episode discussion this time is going to cover 2 episodes. So the next time you see me will be that post-episode discussion. And abracadabra, alakazam. Okay, post-episodes discussion time. We got 2 to talk about. And boy howdy, returning to this series was a breath of fresh air I didn't know I needed. This was fun. So that first episode of this video, the 3rd one, was all about VELTOL basically becoming a streamer. I didn't know VELTOL was joining us in the competitive entertainment industry. Sure, he's been way more successful at it than I have, and judging off of the montage of his subscriber count rising, I'm guessing it took him maybe a month? Maybe, depending on, like, his following, maybe less than a month. I applaud that, because, trust me, from personal experience, getting into that kind of work and getting that kind of success is one in a million. It is very hard. And it only gets harder with every passing day. But I keep it going anyway, as well as the other guys on the channel. But that was fun. And then we, but there was this camera. I watched Machina at one point. And when it was only that episode, my thought was it was just a stalker or a troll or someone had tracked VELTOL down because they didn't like his content and they wanted to do something very dumb and delusional. That was the thought at the time. But then Takahashi needed some help. And VELTOL, with his power slowly returning because of his subscribers, his faith, Takahashi wanted him on the bodyguard gig that she's doing. Now, before we get to that part of that episode, there was actually a tiny little thing I noticed. And I only noticed it after the fact, but she's mentioned to Machina, don't interrupt Veltol when he's on camera, or like don't even be in the same room as him, or be like within the camera range. And I think I know why. Takahashi is friends with Machina, right? So she wouldn't want Machina on the Ethernet unintentionally, especially when there are people, because it's a thing in real life, who would see her and be like, then they would assume the relationship between her and Veltol, and then things would get creepy and weird and unnecessary. So to spare people from misunderstanding, she's just not involved at all. It was subtle, and I understand it. It makes total sense. So bravo, Takahashi, for keeping your best friend out of a very uncomfortable situation. However, speaking of uncomfortable situations, Machina got out of the bath nude in front of Veltol. And instead of the usual reaction to that in anime, she just decided to bow and be like, I'm sorry, Veltol. And I was thankful. I was grateful. I liked it that it was different. You know me and everyone else on this channel. We don't like these typical cliches. We can stomach them and tolerate them in small doses. But we usually want to avoid them. The way Machina handled that situation was perfect. And the way Veltol handled it as well. Perfect. But it makes sense. Master, subordinate relationship. And also Machina, like, she owes Veltol her life because Veltol saved her from death. So it's like she doesn't even think about it that way. And even if she did start to feel romantic to Veltol, I don't think that would change anything. So I do like that the interaction was different from the norm. But it's also because Machina's not a teenage girl. She's an adult. It makes total sense. So bravo this anime for doing a more mature version of that scene. In any case, there was also the matter of the hero. Pretty sure his name was Graham. Veltol found him while he was walking, and they had a chat about how he got eternal youth, which he describes as not being immortality, but what's the difference? And I find it very interesting that he was then forced to fight mortals with wars after Veltol's defeat, and then the fact that like he was branded as the enemy once everyone else was gone. Which reminds me of a series that will join my list for Patreon, or not Patreon stuff, no. It'll join my list for reaction stuff. It won't happen for a long time, but it reminded me of a series I've heard of called I Quit Heroing, where that's the whole premise. And the way that the author of this series managed to work that element in for Graham, like, Veltol and him apparently still won't see eye to eye in this new age. But what's interesting about him is Veltol has every means to slowly regain his power in this version of the world and, like, rise to the top. And he claims it's for the whole, like, to bring world peace and everything. Kind of like how Anos does in a certain other series. Hope the boss enjoys himself over there. But of course, Graham doesn't buy it. And am I even calling him the right name? I hope I am. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I am a forgetful wizard. But it's very interesting because he seems so depressed and just done with life. And especially because he was also a part of the Immortal Hunts. Either he was on the run during them or he did something during them. I don't quite understand what he said. I think it's implying that he was on the run, but he is probably just done with life and depressed that he probably wouldn't bat an eye if Veltol succeeded. Like, if Veltol succeeded in, like, getting his goal, I don't think the hero would bat an eye. He just seems so over everything. So jaded. And also at the end of that episode, what an OST. What song was that? That was awesome. It came out of nowhere as Veltol just stormed the Yakuza. And I was like, that is a cool song to just come out of nowhere. Which leads us into the discussion of the next episode. So Veltol beat up some Yakuza and a machine gear thing from IHML, which is the corporation created by his treacherous former subordinate, who I don't care to remember his name. And they're apparently like working on this ether furnace, which we've learned in that episode that it's a giant conspiracy and the real reason for the immortal hunts. But before we go any deeper than that, I made an observation at the beginning of the episode that the girl's name is Takahashi and Veltol's subordinate is named Machina. And I made a connection. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but those are very Yu-Gi-Oh! Centered names. The creator of Yu-Gi-Oh! Was Takahashi. Very specific name. And Machina is technically the name of an archetype of machine-type monsters. So, did the author of this series like Yu-Gi-Oh! Enough to use those names? Because Takahashi is not a common name. It's not. So that's interesting. But the more interesting thing is the conspiracy. The real reason for the immortal hunts were to get them as fuel. And the first one to be a scapegoat to start the furnace was one of Veltol's subordinates. Like, direct subordinate. So that's confirmation that one of his 6 is dead. And the list that was going to go to the target, IHML, has more of his subordinates. So we better, in these next episodes, we better be looking for them. We better be protecting them and keeping them out of harm's way. And maybe like shutting this furnace down once and for all. Because Takahashi's information broker died over this information. It's very sad, but it's a very cool setup for more. It's no longer just Veltol getting his power back and his original goal and toppling his treacherous subordinate's empire, but he also has to stop his treacherous subordinate from just using his people as fuel. I love it. The setup is ingenious and brilliant. I love it. There's nothing else I need to say. That was for 2 episodes worth. So, on to the next one, of course. So thank you all so much for watching. Hope you liked it. Hit the like button, subscribe, share the video with a friend. Make sure you join that Patreon. I hear there are exclusives over there. Go check them out. The boss put in a lot of effort on those, and eventually, depending on the series, the rest of us will get Patreon exclusives. Me, look at me. The blind wizard would get a Patreon exclusive. I'd be moving up in the world. And of course, keep your notifications on, because as always, I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.